Hello and welcome to the Money Max presentation. My name is Dr. Joan Haakonstad and I'm going to be your presenter. Just a little quick bit about myself. I'm a field partner with United Financial Freedom. I'm on the Take Action Partners team, and quite frankly, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. What we are about to share with you is going to be life-changing. We're going to be talking about a solution to a problem that has caused people's health to decline, created marital crisis, emotional distress, and a variety of other traumatic events in people's lives. The problem is debt. In fact, we're going to take a little bit closer look at what debt is doing to us as a society. The Social Security Administration did a study years ago, and they followed 100 people after 40 years of work. So they watched them through the entire 40-year time frame. What they found at the end of the 40-year time frame is that of those 100 people, 54 people will be broke. So they've worked for 40 years and now they're broke. They're dependent on Social Security, relatives, friends, charity, just to get by. 36, unfortunately, will be dead. Very unfortunate and very sobering. 5 will need to continue to work. 4 will be financially secure, and only one, will be wealthy. So what does that tell us? That tells us a sobering reality. For every 100 people working for 40 years, only 5% of them, 5 out of 100 people, will financially succeed. The vast majority of us will end up dead or dead broke. What a horrible, sobering reality. And that's in part because of what we've deemed the American life. The reality is we have little to no financial education in the school system. I remember back in high school being taught how to write a check, but I was never taught how to make sure there was money in the bank to cover said check. In fact, I remember running home after I learned how to do this, and I said, Mom, guess what? I just learned how to write a check. Give me a check. I want to go buy something. And she's like, oh, Joni, that is not how this works. I was so disappointed. And the reality is, in college, I racked up a huge amount for me of credit card debt because nobody taught me about credit cards and about how they work, and more importantly, how to pay them down, how to use them effectively. So I got myself into some financial challenges. Now, do I blame anybody else? Of course not. But I do believe that we need financial education. We have to have financial education in the school system. It is the foundation of every single household, and it can cause so many physiological illnesses and challenges for people. Financial education needs to happen, but it doesn't. And the result is that debt is at an all-time high. Consumer debt is over $14 trillion. That's crazy. Our national debt is over $28 trillion. That's absolutely crazy. But it also shows us another sobering reality. The American way of life is to buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't know. And as my colleague would say, and may not even like. And the results? Debt. Debt is a 4-letter word. And I'm here to say that there's a solution. So if you're watching this webinar, and like most of us, you probably want to get out of debt. You're not alone. The vast majority of Americans are drowning in debt, and yet they don't do anything about it because they don't know where to start. It can be overwhelming. You're here. You're doing something about it, so congratulations. The reality is debt is big business. And the less we know about how to manage debt, the more profit big institutions make off of us. Although debt helps us pay for things we want when we don't have the money for it, debt will cost us our future if we don't understand the difference between good debt and bad debt, or if we don't know how to pay off that debt like I was in college. So if it seems like no matter what you do, you can't make any real progress on your debt, well, it's because it was set up that way on purpose. Remember, debt is big business. I joke, but truly there's a lot of truth in a joke. We're walking, talking dollar signs to the banks. Now, it's going to come across like I don't like banks. The reality is I love banks. Banks serve a very important part of our society. They help us purchase things we otherwise wouldn't be able to afford. But I think that we've turned to a position where financial institutions are just making a very large amount of money on us. In fact, if you think about it, even marketing has adjusted to accommodate us being in debt. They no longer advertise how much something costs. Rather, they talk about how much is the minimum payment. And of course, they're anticipating you're going to only make that minimum payment and that they're going to make even more money on you. Well, let's talk about how to pay off debt. So I recall when I was in debt, I just graduated college. I had a whole whopping $10,000 worth of credit card debt. Now, to me at the time, that was massive. I truly felt like I was overwhelmed in debt. So I started to do a lot of research, and I found that there were really three main traditional banking approaches to paying off that debt. They said, hey, consolidate that debt and have a lower monthly payment, or refinance to a lower interest rate. And I thought, well, geez, those sound fantastic. However, that doesn't actually pay off my debt. That prolongs my debt. All I did was actually pay a chunk of change to get a new loan on the same debt. Out of these three things, there's really only one payment strategy that will actually help you pay it off sooner, and that's the biweekly payment plan. In the biweekly payment plan, you have your monthly payment that you would typically make, you cut it in half, and you send it every 2 weeks. That ultimately ends up causing you to send 2 additional payments per year. So if you send additional money to that debt, of course it will be paid off faster. There's no magic to paying down debt. You have to send extra money to principal. Well, the unfortunate part of the biweekly payment plan is that it's actually very misconstrued. A lot of people believe that in a biweekly payment plan, you're actually going to cut the term or the length of the loan in half. And mathematically, that is an impossibility. At most, you'll cut off on a 30-year mortgage, you'll cut it off, shave off about 6 years. So you're paying that 30-year mortgage in about 24 years. Now, my other research, because I didn't have a mortgage at the time, my other research found financial gurus. And, some of them say, hey, reduce your standard of living. Eat those ramen noodles. Don't enjoy life. Well, quite frankly, that's what I did. I stopped enjoying life. I stopped doing all the extras. And let me tell you, when you're freshly out of college, that's not fun. I also found that they say send extra payments to debt. But there was a conflict as to what you should do and how you should target that debt. One said target the debt with the highest interest rate. The other one said, no, that's just plain silly. Send all of the extra money that you possibly have to the debt with the lowest balance. Once you get it paid off, roll it over to the next debt with the lowest balance. And I always found it strange. Why do we have these financial gurus having two completely different approaches to paying off debt? And those aren't the only approaches. There's plenty of others. Well, the reality is they had to come up with a one-sized approach to paying off debt. And quite frankly, I'm grateful that they did, because they found a way to help the masses pay down debt. Financially, it may not be the best approach to paying off debt, but at least it's helping some people to do that. And quite frankly, that's what I did. I reduced my standard of living, and I sent every extra payment that I possibly could, every extra penny I possibly could, to pay off my credit card debt. And I did. I paid it off. Very happy about that, but boy, wouldn't it have been nice to be able to enjoy life a little bit? Speaking of, welcome to the Money Max account system. The Money Max account system is designed so that you do not have to refinance. You don't have to have that change to your standard of living. You don't have to start eating those ramen noodles. You don't have to do a biweekly payment plan or a debt roll down plan, and it's not a concept or theory. So what is the Money Max account system? It is a web-based financial GPS. I'm sure we've all used a GPS to get where we want to go. We input an address, and the GPS gives us turn-by-turn directions on how to get there. We miss our turn, we hit road construction, the GPS recalculates to find the next fastest way to reach our destination. Imagine that type of technology, but for your finances. That's what our system provides. It looks at money coming in and money going out, and it mathematically finds the one fastest solution to pay off your debt. And then it takes you step by step, turn by turn, showing you exactly how to do just that. Become debt-free in the fastest time frame possible. It provides that roadmap so that you can pay down those debts quicker, given your current budget. No change, no eating ramen noodles. It's an individual plan for your situation, and quite frankly, it's for your current and future debt. And we have a proven history of over 15 years with over $2 billion, that's $1 billion in principal paid down, because it's based on math. It's not magic. It's just math. The key, though, is to make sure that you're using the right mathematical formula to pay down your debt. So let's start with looking and learning a little bit about an amortization schedule, because the reality is, again, most people have not learned about finances in school. I sure didn't. I kind of learned the hard way. So we're going to look at an amortization schedule for a mortgage at $300,000 of the balance at 4% interest rate. Now, over a 30-year term or 360 months, that monthly payment is $1,432.25. Now, I just want you to know, to keep it simple, I'm going to round off the cents. I'm just going to talk about the monthly payment of $1,432. I'm not going to mention the 25 cents. So here is an amortization schedule just showing the first 15 years. Look at this. First year, you've paid a total of $17,187 for that first 12 months of payments. Look at this. $11,900 went to interest. That's a 69.26% of your payment going to interest. Now, if you remember, we're at a 4% stated interest rate, yet we're actually paying 69% of our payment going towards interest. That's crazy. Well, it doesn't get much better. Year 5, we're at 63.94% of our payments going to interest. Year 10, 55.97. Year 15, we're halfway through the mortgage, and we still have 46.24% of our payment going to service interest. Remember how I said that we're walking, talking dollar signs? I'm sure you can see that we truly are. Let's look at this a little bit closer. So month number 1, again, we have a payment of $1,432 and 25 cents. We're dropping off the 25 cents for now. That first payment, $432 of it goes to principal and $1,000 goes to interest. That means that 70% of our payment went to interest. Wasn't that a 4% interest rate? Well, don't worry. Month number 2, we've really jumped ahead. We have a $2 difference now. Now $434 is going to principal, and only $998 went to interest. Whew, we're on a roll. Year 1, we have now paid $17,187, and only $5,000 of it went to principal. Year 5, we've paid $85,000. $85,000. And only 28 of it went to principal. That's $57,000 that went to interest. Now, often people think that year 15, we're halfway through our mortgage. And time-wise, on that term schedule, that's true. But the reality is, you'll see year 19 and 3 months. At this point, we have paid $330,000 into our mortgage, and look at this. We've only now reached our halfway mark. Our balance, we've paid $150,000 of that principal. We only owe $150,000 now. Year 19 and 3 months. Absolutely crazy. So, original balance, remember, $300,000. Our total repayment is $515,610. That means we have paid 72% of the principal in interest. We paid $215,000 for the privilege of borrowing $300,000. We are walking, talking dollar signs to the banks. So how can we get ahead? Well, let's look at an amortization schedule. Let's say you just got this $300,000 mortgage. It's at that 4% for that 30 years. We haven't changed anything. So once again, that first payment's $1,432. You'd have $1,000 going to interest, $432 going to principal. So what if before your mortgage were due, you actually sent a check to the mortgage company in the amount of $2,615? That would cause you to jump ahead in the payment schedule. So now all of the interest that's associated with those payments goes away. That one payment of $2,615 just saved you $5,979 in interest. Would you invest $2,615 to get back $5,900? That's a pretty darn good return on investment, don't you think? So this concept is one of the concepts that our system is based on. And our program is designed to combine banking strategies with advanced math and innovative technology in order to ensure every dollar you make either earns interest or cancels interest. Now, in order to use our system, you have 4 requirements. Shocker, you have to have debt. We're a system that helps you pay down debt, so it kind of makes sense. You need to have a checking and a savings account, and you need our Money Max account system. Now, an optional use of our system, you can have an advanced line of credit, or what we've termed an ALOC. An ALOC consists of a home equity line of credit, personal line of credit, business line of credit, any type of open-ended line of credit. Now, again, that part is optional. In fact, 70% of our clients use checking and savings. Most of our clients do not use a line of credit. It is not required. And the outcome in most situations is equivalent. The benefit of a home equity line of credit is having access to cash should you need it. So pretty good benefit. Now we're going to look at 4 money saving strategies because our system is actually based on a whole bunch of different money saving strategies, but we're just going to concentrate on 4 of them. We're going to look at interest accumulation, interest float, interest cancellation, and strategic debt payoff. And we're going to look at one potential scenario to illustrate these 4 strategies. Now, again, I want to emphasize that everybody's situation is different. We are looking at one potential strategy. And actually, this was a real life situation for some of our clients years and years ago. So let's say John and Rebecca Jones. They have $5,000 of income. Their expenses on average amounts to $4,800. So on average, they have a discretionary amount of money left over of $200. Now, again, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. We're just talking about averages here. And we're going to look at a debt structure of just one mortgage. So they have one mortgage, the balance is $200,000. We're going to say an interest rate at 6%. Shake things up a little bit. Payment each month is $1,199.10, and that's for 30 years, so 360 months. Now, you'll notice we have another debt on here, and that's a credit card. You'll also notice that there's a 0 balance on that credit card. Now, I'm going to kind of have a little bit of a spoiler alert. Let me ask you, if you have a 0 balance on a credit card, you place a charge on there, you buy something, you put it on that credit card, and then you pay it off in full before the due date. How much interest do you pay? 0. Again, spoiler alert, we'll come back to that in just a minute. So we're going to be targeting this $200,000 mortgage at 6% to pay it off. So here we have month number 1. Month number 1, our $5,000 paycheck comes into our checking account. Our system says, you know what, we want to go ahead and move that money from our checking into our savings so that we can start accruing interest. Even if it was just a small amount at 2%, we want to make sure that every single penny, nickel, dime, quarter, dollar is either canceling interest or earning interest. So we have it sit in that savings account. In the meantime, we have that credit card, and we're going to put all of our monthly expenses onto that credit card. If you recall, we have $4,800 of monthly expenses. Now you cannot, but let's say that you put your mortgage payment on there as well, your car payment. Of course, you can put your groceries on there and all of your other expenses as well. So all of your expenses of $4,800 were put on that credit card. And again, that includes that monthly payment of $1,199.10. So you made your mortgage payment. That decreases the balance from $200,000 down to $199,801. So remember, you've had your money sit in your savings account for that month as well. So at a 2% interest rate, you just earned $8 on that money. Doesn't sound like much, but every single penny, nickel, dime, quarter, dollar matters, and we want to make it work for you. So we've now had one of those strategies of interest accumulation. Now, month number 2 comes around, and we get our paycheck again. That $5,000 comes into the checking account. Now, I gave a spoiler alert before, but I'm going to bring it up again. Do you recall, we started with a 0% interest rate on this credit card. We put all of our expenses on here for a month. So what happens if we pay it off in full? How much interest do we pay? 0. That's right. So the system says, go ahead and move money from your checking over to your credit card and pay it off in full. So what we've done is we have borrowed money at 0% for 30 days while our money sat in our savings account accruing interest for 30 days. That's called arbitrage. So Now the system says, you know what, it's time to go ahead and practice some interest cancellation. Go ahead and move money from your savings over to the checking. And it tells you the exact amount down to the penny on the specific day to make sure that your money is working effectively and efficiently. In this situation, it advised to move $3,789. Now, you still have a reserve in your savings account. In fact, if you remember, we started with zero here. We've created a reserve. Now you have $39.89 in that checking, and the system says, let's go ahead, that's right, and cancel some interest. Move that balance of $39.89 from our checking over to that mortgage, and guess what it did? That one transfer of money, of that one transfer of $39.89, just eliminated 16 payments, and it saved $18,746 with one transfer. Now you're wondering, well, hold on a second, how do I live? Well, remember, we're practicing credit card float. We didn't do that just for 1 month. We do this on an ongoing basis. We put any and all expenses onto our credit card, and we pay it off in full every single month. So these strategies are done over and over and over again in different ways and different fashions, depending on your unique situation. So what happens when we made that one payment of $39.89? Well, if you remember, the loan balance was $199,801. After the payment, it brought it down to $195,612. Results, again, reduced the balance by $39.89. But what's fun? We had 358 payments remaining before. Now we only have 342. We jumped ahead in the amortization schedule. That's pretty amazing. We shaved off. We eliminated 16 payments. But look at this. Our interest was at $231,677 that we were going to pay. That one transfer just reduced that amount of interest that we're going to hand over to the bank down to $212. And we just started. These strategies are used over and over and over again to make sure that we're accelerating the pay down of our debt in the most effective and efficient manner possible. So again, we wiped out $18,000 in interest, and we only applied that one time so far. It's going to keep doing this over and over and over again. Does it make sense to have a one-time investment of $39.89 to save $18,746? I would think so. Let's look a little bit closer at this. I mentioned that this does this strategy over and over and over again. Well, in this situation, and again, this was a real situation with real people that used this. This is not a fictitious situation. Although the name John and Rebecca Jones are fictitious, this is actually based on a real couple. They started with a $200,000 mortgage. Conventionally, after a year, their payment would have been down to $197. With our system, it was down to $184. Now, interestingly enough, it would take 5.5 years of paying down that conventional loan in a traditional fashion to reach a similar balance. 5.5 years. It took us 1 year. Repayment time with a traditional mortgage, 30 years, compared to our system, 10.4 years. Interest paid, $231,000, or with our system, it was only $70,000. It was a savings of $167,219. Now, everybody's situation is different. Will you have these same results? Honestly, I truly don't know. I hope that they're better. Mine, for my situation, we were shown that we would have our 29-year mortgage paid off in only 9.1 years. And we were saving $327,000 in interest. I just helped somebody the other day. He had a mortgage and a bunch of other consumers' debts. He had 33 years remaining on that because the credit cards are functioning so focused on helping the banks earn money. He had 33 years before he'd have those credit cards paid off. We're going to have him paid off in 16.3 years. Everybody's situation is different because everybody's financial situation is different. Our system is designed to make your cash flow work effectively and efficiently so that you can accelerate the pay down of debt. That's truly what it comes down to. Now, what we've discussed so far is one debt, but the reality is most people have more than one debt. So how do you know which debt to pay off first? Let's say we had a $200,000 mortgage at 6%. We had the student loan of 10.7 at 7. We had an auto loan at 20,000 at 7.25. We have a furniture loan at 4,800, and that's at 7.125% interest rate. What if we had credit cards and $8,000 balance on that at 6.5%. How do you know which debt to target when with how much? Remember the different financial gurus? One would say, hey, go after this one with the lowest balance. No, 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 that's just plain silly. Go after this one with the highest interest rate. How do you know? And then when you look at these even closer, how much of your payment's going to interest versus how much of it's going to principal? There's so many variables that are involved in determining which debt to target when with how much. The wrong decision costs you time and money. We want to make sure you're keeping as much time and as much money as possible. Sobering reality, FICO says that the average consumer has 13 active creditors on their credit report. When we look at all of the variables associated with paying off those debts and the different combinations of paying it off, it's simply factorial math. So with 13 active creditors, there are over 6 billion potential combinations to pay off that debt every month. What is the likelihood you will make the right decision every time? You may, and congratulations. Most people will not. The wonderful news is that our system has been featured in a variety of nationally distributed magazines and radio shows and television shows throughout the country. Probably the one with the most national recognition we could possibly have gotten is from Ernst & Young. Ernst & Young came knocking on our door back in 2008, and they did some intensive due diligence. They actually, in case you don't know, Ernst & Young is responsible for auditing publicly traded companies and doing what's right for the consumer. In fact, they're in charge of consumer oversight protection. So when they came knocking on our doors, they wanted to investigate and ensure that our company was doing what we said we're doing. And the reality is we're a privately held company. We didn't have to open up our doors, but we did. We have nothing to hide. So they went through our financials. They sat down with their executive team. They had their financial planners and accountants scour through our system. And after their extensive due diligence, not only did they find we are a debt-free company because we practice what we preach, our executive team is great. They also found our customer service is exceptional. They also found we're doing exactly what we say we're doing. We're helping people pay off their loans in as little as 1/3 to 1/2 the scheduled time. They were so impressed with us, they awarded us the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award 2008, Utah Region for Financial Services. Now, this is a similar award given to so many different companies that you likely recognize, such as Apple, Starbucks, eBay, Microsoft, and so many more that are nationally recognized. The reality is we have a financial GPS. No magic, it's math. And just like the GPS in your car looks at all the potential routes to get you where you want to go, the MMA takes in every single aspect of your financial situation into account. It's going to look at how much you owe, for how long, what are your interest rates, the types, the percent, the adjustable, simple, amortized, compounds, how much income do you make, how much, how often, and is it commission-based? What's coming down the road, like vacations or holiday spendings, your tax returns. And even when the unexpected expenses happen, such as medical bills, broken appliances, home repairs, it will recalculate and help you find the next fastest way to reach your destination. It will help you keep on track. It is your financial GPS. Now, comparing this financial navigation system to the GPS in the car, just like the GPS in your car guides you to make all the turns, our system guides you to pay off all your debts. Just like the GPS in your vehicle takes away the stress of deciding which route to take when obstacles come up, our system takes away the stress when complicated financial decisions come up. Just like the GPS in your car helps you stay focused on the road, our system helps you stay focused on your financial plan. Just like the GPS tracks your success as you follow the route, our system tracks your success as you follow the program. Just as your GPS gives you the exact time you're going to arrive at your destination, our system gives you the month and year that you will be debt-free. And what's even better, you can update our system with less than 20 minutes per month. To date, we have helped our clients pay off over 2.1, this number is now too low, we have helped pay off over $2.1 billion in debt. Our team alone has helped to accelerate the paydown of over $26 million, and we have over $330 million in our system for our clients that we're working on, just our team. And there's thousands of agents throughout the country. It's a fact. Achieving your financial goals begins with debt elimination. Now, I bet you're wondering, will this work for me? And the reality is, I truly don't know. So your next step is to get back with the person that invited you to this call and ask to have your free savings analysis. They will do a side-by-side comparison of what you're currently doing versus what the system can do for you to see if this is a good decision for you. And then you'll know your financial freedom date too. That concludes our presentation. So I'm going to leave you with this thought. The only difference between where you are and where you want to be are the steps you haven't taken. Get with the person that invited you to this call and have your debt freedom date analysis completed. Thank you again for attending, and remember, take action. Have a great day.